I beg you to help me talk to your sister and talk her out of it. You're her brother and you don't even care. Wait, what are you talking about? I've been trying for months to dissuade your sister from going out with a classmate of ours. He only pretends to be a good guy to take advantage of girls when they've got their guard down. How do you know that? It happened to me. It's not my place to tell my sister for her. You should tell her about it. I've been trying for months, and I'm afraid for her because she might be just as stubborn as I was. So you mean you were also warned but didn't heed the warnings? I was warned by everybody except for one crucial person, the woman I was employed to babysit for her son. I don't want to reveal her real name. Is piercing woman okay? Sure, I mean, it's up to you. See, it's perfect, to me, because her eyes stabbed into me. That, and she had a habit of using her claws on me. Her husband, Pete, worked a night job, and when she came home from work, she would go to bed in the evening and sleep until morning. At least that's what I was told when I met them. I met them on a walk in my neighborhood, and though I didn't know them well, I was in need of a job. I jumped at the opportunity to babysit their 2-year-old, Case. I could run to their house from mine in less than a minute. My story began innocently, but everything changed rapidly. The routine was that I would come over as soon as I got back home from school, and sometimes I'd stay the night. In the first week, nothing unusual happened. It was pretty relaxing. Case was very talkative and energetic, but also easily entertained. One evening I was sitting with Case, and we were watching one of his favorite programs on TV, and out of nowhere I heard the faucet in the kitchen run. I was already planning to escape the house with Case, not willing to risk our safety, but then I thought maybe something happened to the faucet, and on the way to check it, I slammed right into Piercing Woman, who had been wearing a towel and holding a glass of water before we collided. It happened so suddenly I didn't know if she dropped her towel by accident in shock of having seen me. After all, her hair was dry, messy, and she wasn't supposed to be home yet, or if the towel had fallen during the impact, which didn't make sense to me, since the towel would have been stuck between us, but it wasn't. I heard the front door shut and the sound of a car quickly leaving the driveway. However, instead of alarm at being found out, she stood there laughing as though she'd only pulled a prank on me. After the next week came and went, I'd almost convinced myself that she was innocent. The whole thing was, since everything seemed like it was back to normal. Until, unmistakably, I heard the sounds and voices coming from the direction of the master bedroom. It's fine. He left already. Not like he's in any position to be jealous anyway. You had a chance to tell my husband a while back. If you told him now, he'd question why it took you so long to say something. Why are you protecting me anyway, I couldn't tell in that moment if she was mad at me. I didn't know what was about to happen. This might be why I jumped and almost screamed when I felt her hand landing on my shoulder. I wasn't hit, though. Her fingers squeezed my shoulder almost lovingly, except for the edge of her nails, which were threatening. I heard myself say, "I'm not protecting you. I didn't know. I don't know anything," and only then realized I wasn't saying the truth. I was speaking in defense of her. She laughed and squeezed my shoulder a little deeper. I almost said, "Stop, that hurts," but stopped myself when I realized it didn't hurt at all. You could have quit. Her voice already whispery, gathering warmth in my ear, but her words were cold and sharp like icicles. Any normal young lady would have been gone long ago. What keeps you here? Do you have a mother? She left my father when I was 12. I answered, questioning why I was saying anything to this woman who just tore me down. Why was I there? I felt glued to that spot, but by what? She cooed sympathetically in my ear. Oh, you're like me when I was your age. All that frustration and no outlet. No, I'm not frustrated. You're so frustrated you can't look at me. I'm flattered. You must have really liked what you saw to keep it to yourself like that. Guess how old I am? 34? 42. You're young enough to be my daughter. And it wasn't until she said, "Look at me. I can be the mother ladies like us never had," that I understood what kept me feeling gripped. You have a boyfriend? No, but there's this guy I like at school. Her eyes, messy hair, and most of all her nails poised above my shoulder. Would you like me to hook you up? I don't know why I kept her secret or confided in her. She was nothing like a mother, but something about her frightened me into letting her have control. When my job shifted into being her slave, I never said no. Every day I was there meant more secrets I had to cover for her as she began to weave me into them. Though the woman was obnoxious and insulted me regularly, she was the only counselor who encouraged me to unleash my wild side. One day, hours before a date with the guy I told her about, the one I'm currently warning your sister Mag against dating, she put black lipstick on her lips and asked, "You know what will drive him crazy?" And before I could ask her what, "He might see that. You just ruined my underwear. I hate you." Of course he'll see it. That's the point. He'll ruin your underwear anyway. You'd have quit by now if you hated me. She was right, and all the rumors about the guy were true after all. You are one wild chick. Then he threw me down and took me. I wept the whole time, but when I got home I snuck right back out again. For the first and only time, she held me against her chest like a mother would, going, "Shh, you're evil. You marked me. How could you?" As she tucked me in, she said, "At least now you'll see he was a jerk after all." It was that night that changed things. I'd been awakened by a guy who'd never take me out again, yet I began to crave what I heard on the other side of her bedroom door. Until one day she came out and caught me sitting out there by the door listening. "Get up, you've got work to do." Then I quit. "I'm sick of keeping these secrets for you, and you're cruel. I'm only a babysitter." "Well, you're a frustrated babysitter, and I only hired you to babysit." "It's difficult to even do my job when you're doing that all the time." "Either stop it, or I won't even babysit for you anymore." "Well, someone has to satisfy me." "That's your husband's job, no one else's." "He's not here right now." "I'll quit." As I felt the almost loving touch of her hand on my shoulder and then the sharpness of her nails, I flinched and tried to say with more conviction, "I'll quit." But it was weak, and I didn't quit. Never estimated when you'd take my hand how you'd pull me under, nor saw the danger in your icy eyes. Here's my yowl as your edges tear me asunder. Watch your smile scattering glares. Hear the howl betray my lips. Caught me unawares, swimming up to me. I was busy getting lost in your sea. How could I not see the game where you tip me topsy-turvy ends with you drowning me? Now I watch you take your fill. Come feast on my scream. I started wearing longer sleeves and pants all the time to cover new scratches and bite marks. My shame had grown to the point I couldn't look at anyone in the face anymore. It was like everyone's eyes were piercing now. What if they saw? What if it was written all over me, and the role I played in life now was dependent on her definition and command over me? My way to cope, when I looked at my reflection to check the healing process of this or that mark she left on me, was to deem them individually as souvenirs. Instead, It made it easier to accept it and turn the pain into love. My new belief that all touch was love. One day her husband came home to screams. I hadn't been able to hear the door. The blood was pounding in my head, and it felt like she was blistering my thighs, squeezing me, and shouting commands that my pain and my voice was shutting out. Suddenly I heard, "What's going on here?" And the pain, which felt like it would never end, ceased magically. For the first time since I'd met that woman, I saw her roll off the bed and taking the blanket with her in a vain attempt to salvage her modesty, and flushing with color, she ran to hide. Her husband tried to take me to the hospital, but I lied about my age in the hopes that no one would make me press charges against her. Pete divorced her and was granted custody of Case. After a while, I visited again to ask where she was. At first, he told me he didn't know, and then he gave vague answers. And when I asked, he avoided answering them. I realized he was trying to protect me from her, and that angered me at the time. After a while, I began to see that he was doing the good thing by not telling me. He quietly began to explain Stockholm Syndrome, and that he had it for his ex-wife, and that being without her was the best thing for him and his son. He didn't outright accuse me of having Stockholm Syndrome for her, and after a while, it bothered me when he would tell me I could press charges against her, but eventually I saw that he was right, and his intentions were pure. Through this, we became friends. So, are you going to tell your sister? I mean, not about that woman, but about... Yes, and if I have to, I'll talk to him myself.